Dear all, good evening. Welcome. We'll wait 2-3 minutes or maybe 5 minutes. Let's see how many people, more people can join us today. Okay. Great. I think we have we had almost 50 plus signups. Almost 20 plus people have already joined, and it's already bit about 3 minutes. So let's start. Dear all, good evening. Once again, a very happy New Year to you all. Wishing good health and harmony. My name is Sunil Kulkarni, and I'm VP CITLoB West Zone. Welcome to the CITLoB monthly seminar. Before we start, request you to mute yourself, and if possible, keep video on so that we can see you. Also share any questions that you might have in the chat. Further, there will be a recording of this session, and you will have access to it through the YouTube channel. I think I talked to Sudhin, but there is no monthly major announcement from CITLoB. But watch the social media space for more this year, as we are planning different events and seminars again later. I'm happy to have you all today. Today we have participants from Japan, different parts of India. While many of us are from localization industry, many of us are also from different domains. We saw the registrants, and we could see that some have experience from economics, some from languages, some from technology. So today we have an interesting mix and a huge interest from all participants. Some already know about this topic, but some are curious to know about it. All can be seen from the questions that we have received upfront, which I'll be taking as much as I can as we proceed. Today we have an interesting guest with us, extremely down-to-earth lady. And when I connected with her on LinkedIn, she graciously accepted to be our guest for today. Founder and director, FirstLanguage Technologies Private Limited. She is the associate professor in the Department of Computer Science at SRM Institute of Science and Technology. Passionate about natural language processing, machine learning, deep learning, and Tamil computing, she tries to find solutions to societal problems through her research and interests. She is a strong believer of learning never ends. Please welcome Dr. Subalalita. Yeah, so I'm very happy to have you, Doc, today. Welcome again.
Thank you so much. Good evening to everyone. First, I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Would like to take forward your questions.
Yeah. So today, typically we have different formats. The speaker typically presents something using PPT. We have kept more of an interactive session kind of thing. I'll be taking some of the questions later. We have received some questions. So, to begin with, Doc, if you can tell us about your interesting journey from a professor to an entrepreneur.
Yeah, actually, I'm actually currently working as associate professor in SRM Institute of Science and Technology in the Department of Computer Science. Actually, a year back, we did not actually have this thought of becoming an entrepreneur, but life always has its own paths. I mean, forcing ourselves to take some paths. I was passionate about teaching. Like when I finished my PhD in the year 2014, I joined SRM in the year 2015. I had passion towards teaching and also researching. I'm into NLP since 2007. So teaching and researching NLP was only part of my life. I mean, career, professional life. But then sometimes you get saturated and you want to evolve also. I like getting evolved. So yeah, so I wanted to, and SRM gave me an excellent platform.
Yeah, please, if you can mute. Yeah, please. Yeah. So, Doctor, please continue.
Yeah, that's fine. So SRM actually gave me an excellent platform for doing research. Like we used to collaborate with industries. So I have worked with Samsung Research Institute, Bangalore. So we have done so far 5 projects with them. So that's when I thought like, I mean, working with an industry. So that gave me a different insight. Apart from like, though you do a lot of research in NLP, like working with an industry. So that's when I came to know like there's a lot of market value for NLP. And at that point of time, like even SRM was encouraging faculty member to start their startups. And my own students was my inspiration again, like even second year and BTech, third year BTech students at SRM, they used to have their startup. It's not joke. And so, they used to start like, so that actually encouraged me. Like that's when we also thought myself and my husband Selva. So he's a senior architect in Cognizant. He's not officially involved in our company right now, but he's taking care of all the technical. So he built actually the website, our company website. So he's a technical expert in building websites and he's into e-commerce. So we both thought like my NLP expertise and his technical expertise, we wanted to invest on knowledge. And then that, we started this company.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Fantastic. This thing. And I think you getting inspiration from your own students, it's again an amazing. So now many of us hear about NLP, we read natural language processing and so on, but what is it actually? And how is it used in maybe localization or other areas or other, like, so if you can elaborate on that, that would be great. Yeah.
Natural language processing is one of the subdomains of artificial intelligence. So natural language primarily means a human spoken or written language. So a processing. So that means like whenever a computer is forced to understand the human spoken or written text. So that is actually the algorithms that are built to make the computers understand the human text and spoken language. So that's actually natural language processing. That's part of a subdomain of artificial intelligence. So for instance, like the search engines that we have, Google search engine, so that takes a human text as an input and it understands our query. So no matter it is broken or it is partial query, it understands the language, human language, and whatever language, no matter what the language is, because like the models are highly language dependent. So it has to understand Hindi, it has to understand Tamil, English. So it is language dependent. Of course, multilingual models are coming up. So search engines can be thought of in direct NLP applications and translations. So many of us would have tried Google Translation and voice over searches. We search search engines using voice over query. We give speech as an input and we search for it. So like whatever chatbots, virtual assistants, chatbots. So whatever applications, real-time applications around us that we are using in our day-to-day life, that are understanding the human spoken or written language, that is called natural language processing. And the second part of your question was like how it is helping in localization. So localization, as far as I understood, like you tend to create content in a local regional language, right? That's localization. So you create advertisements, you create contents, and so subtitling comes there, and dubbing, right? Like many, I understood that way. So the direct connect between localization industry and natural language processing would be machine translation. So when we talk of like machine translation is a bit difficult task, I would say. It's not an impossible task, but it is a bit difficult because it is trying to bridge the gap between two languages that emerge from two different culture altogether. So when we talk of like even the languages between in India, so though they are coming from a same country, they have altogether different characteristics between them. So Hindi has its own structure, grammatical structure and the format. And when we talk of like down south, Dravidian languages, they have a different structure. So for instance, like English is a fixed word order language. Like you can't change the word order, subject, verb, object pattern. Like so, but yeah. So for instance, like he ate apple. So this is my favorite example that he used. So there's a subject, there's a verb, there's an object. Like you can't change the word order. But when you talk of like Indian languages, they are partially free word ordered. So you can change the positions of verb and subjects. So in machine translation, what we're actually doing is that like we are trying to attempt to translate a language that emerged from one culture and to translate to another, and it is automated. And not only that, like when you speak of localization, there's so much of factors involved. Like you need to understand the jargons of the language, right? Like we have idioms and phrases which cannot be understood, like the idioms and phrases which are spoken in Tamil or written in Tamil, that cannot be understood by some other native speaker, right? Like handling idioms and phrases, and dialects. So even in when we speak of Tamil, like there are so many dialects. Like when you travel from one district to another in Tamil Nadu, so the Tamil language actually varies. There's so many dialects. I believe the same case appears for several other languages as well. So how to capture all these features when you are attempting a machine translation? When you're doing a machine translation for a plain text itself has its own difficulties. But when you do it for when you are attempting a localization, then there's so much of components involved, and that's how NLP and localization are connected. So that's how I see this question. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, there are more questions coming up, but to start with, it's a good opener because many of us have just heard like just NLP as a jargon or a buzzword. and not knowing how what actually it means. So it was from a layman perspective, again, it was really a good this thing. If you can tell us more about your firm and what kind of problem it is trying to solve, and what actually is your solution or whatever the framework or your idea that you are trying to bring through first your company.
Okay. Yeah. So our company is name is like FirstLanguage Technologies. So what we primarily thought of was to give NLP API based services, so that like even non-NLP companies can access our APIs, and it's a low code. So low code is very important, right? Like they can access our APIs, language based NLP based APIs. So far we have APIs like for text classification. It's a generic classification. So you give a text, it can you give the specification, classification category, it can classify the text into any number of classes you want. So sentiment classification, movie reviews. So we have APIs for that, and we have text summarization APIs, and then question answering. So you give a question and the context, it gives the answer. And we have also API for stemming. So stemming, I think online dictionary based companies can make use of it, and the companies which target on building search engines, they need stemming for storing the indices. For instance, you give the word smiling, it cuts the case suffixes and just keeps the root stem. So we have stemmers and lematizer. Lematizer is a variant of stemmer. So stemmer will give you cut the case suffix abruptly, but lematizer will cut the case suffix and will add an E, smile. So smiling means it just stemming ing will go off, SMIL will be there, but lematizer is a bit more intelligent than such stemmer. So it adds E and it takes care of the spelling of the stem. So that is lematizer is there, and we have parts of speech tagger. So understanding the grammatical components of the words. So like given a text, so what are the nouns and what are the verbs? So I think even your localization industry might need this, like when you give a, so that's a parts of speech tagging is the preliminary process that is used in any text processing. So these are all parts of speech tagging, stemming, lemmatization are very preliminary process that is done in any NLP based text processing. And for all these APIs, what we use is the state of the art trending models. For instance, for these preliminary APIs, we use Spacey. Spacey is a well-known in industry for text processing. And for us, for the high-end applications that I was talking about, the question answering and text summarization, machine translation, and for those for those applications APIs, we are using Robota, so which is a Facebook model. So right now we are using their pre-trained model, and we are right now fine-tuning more for each and every language. We started with Tamil. So that's how, that's what our company. And apart from these API-based services, we also have partnership with chatbot.com. The customers can extend the chatbot services provided by chatbot.com by using our sentimental APIs. So they can also get concession from chatbot.com if they use our APIs. And right now we are working on speech to text applications for all the languages. So we are targeting, so for each and every API, so we're not concentrating on a single language. So we are taking care that it is at least covering 100 plus languages. Soon we will launch the speech to text API. So far we have come this far. So that's about our firm.
Oh, great. So meaning from more of a, again, a layman and non-technical perspective, these APIs are more like kind of a plug and play kind of, let's say.
Yes.
So if I'm trying to build up some kind of a, let's say, sentimental analysis kind of a framework or solution, I can directly connect to this thing, use your API, pass my input, get the results, and so on.
Yes. And we have also catered, we have, an individual developer wants our APIs. So the thing is different. So they can, as an individual developer, also they can use our APIs. If they're a small team, so they can also use our APIs. The charges will differ accordingly. And for enterprise edition also we have. So for which we have enhanced security. So because we can work on their data set and we can fine tune our models more and we can offer more security for that. So we have different set of services for different set of requirements from the customers.
Great. And this you are saying is your APIs or framework solution works across 100 plus Indian languages.
Not in Indian languages, global languages.
Global languages. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. This there are many SMEs around us. We are one of the SMEs. There are a lot of freelancers. As I mentioned, you briefly covered in your answer earlier question as well. But is there any way where we can work with your firm? Like one is of course leverage those APIs. But
Yes.
is there any way we can contribute to your work or your APIs? Like maybe you need some data or you need some. Is there any way we can, as freelancers or SMEs, can work together in?
Yeah, so I said like we use the Facebook models and Google models. Basically, we use Google models, Facebook models, and Spacey models, and we need to fine tune them. So to fine tune them, we need tagging. So we need to augment the data, and we've started for Tamil. Maybe for that tagging purpose, we need more people. So for before training, so fine tuning them, like we need to tag people. So we may need the help of linguists. So they can contribute to us.
Okay. Okay. Many times, like as an SME, we get some queries from customers, but we don't know whether this is an NLP related query or how. So is there any keyword or like as an SME that you want to say that if this is in this area or use case, typically NLP can help out that use case, or NLP other than chatbots? Like when we understood about chatbots, but other than that, are there any other use cases where NLP you think frequently found in the as in SME or industry?
Yeah, so apart from chatbot, as you said, like you want to understand the query, right? Like contextual understanding of the query. So then we need semantic interpretation models. That's what I was talking about, Roberta. So they're all high-end semantic interpretation models. Yeah. So you need to understand the semantics of a person language. Like for instance, like I'm using the word apple. So like what is the, because natural language is full of ambiguity. So there's a lot of a word can have multiple meanings. And when you talk about localization, and then it is specific to language. So for a specific to language, there are so many features that only that native speaker can speak. So we need to incorporate models that can capture the overall context of the language. So we can augment the, improve the working of search engines. We can think of search engines apart from chatbots we were talking, right? Like you can have search engines, or you can have text summarization. So where you understand the text as a whole, because like when you're giving a text to a human, so the way you summarize and I summarize may differ. But when a system understands and condenses the text, so it has to understand the text as a whole. So there are so many use cases we can think of.
Correct.
Hey, Selva here. Can I pitch in just a few points?
Yeah.
Sure. So,
by the way, Selva is the better half or spouse of our dog. Yeah, please welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. No, I just wanted to augment what doctor said. Basically the other use cases for you asked about SMEs and companies, what they can do. For example, I come from an e-commerce world where, for example, we use tools like Bazaarwise for customer reviews and other things. So if you have a site, or if you want to develop a product to analyze how a product is you are newly launching a product, retail product, and you want to analyze how that product is perceived in public, and you want to analyze the reviews automatically for each product launch. So you can use our sentiment analysis API. And for example, if there are thousands of reviews or hundreds of reviews, you just feed that into the API and find out whether the product launch is positive or negative. Based on that, a company can make a decision. So this is one kind of app an individual developer can build, or a small company can build. Like that, for example, if you take a college or institution, or if you have a library, or you have a library of content, you want you want to expose that content to public, and for example, a question answering system. So for example, a university can build their own question answering system to enable the students to learn better. Any kind of app you can think of which requires a language input, you can make use of the APIs.
Great. I think even on just a parallel use case could be, there are so many company reviews on Glassdoor or these kind of companies. So new graduates who want to join new companies, they can quickly perhaps write a bot or something that can analyze companies and so on. I think other could be claim processing in maybe insurance, or reading legal contracts, or voice controls in autonomous cars, and sentiment analysis on call center data, and different kind of use cases could be there.
Yeah, you can summarize legal documents, for example, legal industry. If there are hundreds of pages of legal document, you want to summarize what those documents are saying. You can write an app for that. So the usage is limitless. It's up to the imagination. Yeah.
Again, it's like mind-boggling. I think our generation, when we started with black and white TVs and color TVs and pagers, and now we are talking of all these NLPs, and really it's an amazing where the world is going. Again, this is a very maybe wrong question, but how is India positioned in this field? Meaning, because you are also coming from industry, you see graduates learning or young students learning all this. We see and hear about China a lot, US, Silicon Valley is of course there. But do you think this field will grow in India, as in students will participate more in this field? How is India positioned? And additional to this, if some new developer or new person wants to come into this field, what should they learn, or what kind of skills they need to join this field? Yeah.
Okay. India is actually, when compared to the other countries, India is actually progressing very fast in this field. So we have actually NLP companies, more NLP companies even in India, so based in India. So it has got a very good opportunity in this field. And talking about what a student has to do, when a individual has to enter into this field, there are so many courses. Even the Coursera, the famous Coursera offers NLP courses. And my own favorite is Professor Chris Manning and Dan Jurafsky. So they are the Stanford professors, and their videos I like a lot. So they have uploaded their videos in YouTube. So you can also watch them from Stanford website. So they talk about the foundations of natural language processing. So once you're done with the foundations, then you can start practicing using NLTK. So you have many Python libraries. So Python is very much easy. I'm not sure about the other programming languages, but NLTK and Spacey, so they are very good to start with. So they can get a hands-on experience with these libraries, and slowly they can, they should definitely, to progress more, they should have an exposure towards machine learning. So because machine learning is a part, definitely an integral part of NLP. So because NLP uses machine learning algorithms for better accuracy. So without machine learning, NLP cannot survive. So the one has to learn about machine learning. Again, machine learning is a generic field that fits into many other fields. So it will be better like after getting a knowledge on NLP and all these Python NLTK spacey. So one can learn about like machine learning and deep learning concepts. So I was talking about these Robota BERT models. No? So Robota is from Facebook and BERT is from Google. So these are deep learning concepts, transfer learning concepts. Like slowly they can also get to know about these domain, and they can try to build small applications, and they can expertise in this field. So that's what I feel.
So there are enough courses, and one can pick up and jump into this field. And again, yeah, great. I'll from here on, I'll also some questions in from that are coming up rapidly. So one is like this is from Sangamnerkar. Since you are a founder of a startup which is like quite working with on Indian languages, and so what are the toughest bottlenecks you have found in this work, and how do you think it will take or reach a point where there is a reasonable acceptance for Indian languages in NLP tools?
Okay. So when we talk of like Indian languages, the only bottleneck we face, we've started fine-tuning the models, I said. No? So though these Robota models and BERT models are trained already for Indian languages. So even Facebook has released a model called Mural, so that multilingual representation for Indian languages, exclusively for Indian languages. So and the multilingual BERT, it handles 104 languages across the globe. So it's not that like Indian languages are not dealt by the state-of-the-art trending models. They're already trained. But what as a startup we are facing is that like we have to fine tune. So because the models are pre-trained on a particular genre of text. Again, when we wanted to use those models for a specific task, maybe for understanding for a particular domain, a banking domain, or a specific, they have to be fine-tuned with those amount of data. So building those data, so tagging, labeling those data is one of the challenging tasks when we build those models for Indian languages. So that's what I would say.
Great. How can we train and use AI effectively when there are more than one language involved in the training data? This is from Anand, from Ryan. Yeah.
Okay. Multilingual data they're talking about.
So where there are more than one language involved in the training data. So there is a multilingual data basically. So how can we train and use AI effectively? Is there?
Okay, so when we mix up languages, so there's a concept called code mixing. So we call it as code mixed languages. So you tend to like, for instance, the languages that are predominantly used in social media. So we used to mix more of languages. We mix our own mother tongue and English together. And there's a lot of multilingual. Not to worry about that. Like I was talking about this multilingual BERT, right? Like XML Robota models, they are actually trained on multilingual documents. So it is proven that like multilingual languages can be dealt by these state-of-the-art models. So, yeah.
By the way, dear all participants today, some of the answers might or might not meet your exact question. She's available on LinkedIn. Maybe she'll later share her details as well. So feel free to reach her later after this conference. She'll try to answer these questions later again, and we'll put those on social media as well. So I'll just continue. So there is a question from Sudhanshu. Suppose we are having, let's say, 50,000 parallel corpus, and we translate it from one language to another. We are getting a certain blue score of say 8. And if we increase this corpus to 800,000, then we are getting a score of 11. So in a like a layman's language, again, the size of data set matters. It seems like for increasing the blue score to get correct translation. So what are your views around this, or what are your thoughts around this? Yeah.
Yeah, so Blue Score definitely data is required. So we need to have, as they pointed out, like to increase the Blue Score, we have to um, break our head in increasing the data. So when you increase the parallel text, like definitely the Blue Score will increase. So there's no other go other than fueling the model with the more data. So
is there any kind of benchmark around that? If you have 250K plus data sets or a million plus data bits for data sets for this particular language, you have better, or is there any benchmarks, or it's changes?
It's not about the number of data. So even though you increase the number of data, like how quality the data is, there are so many factors involved. So we cannot point it out. So it's a trial and error. So we have to train the model and see like how the data is performing. So the data is not good, then we have to improve the data as well. Yeah.
So in short, just moving from 80,000 to 800K might or might not help, depending on the quality and other factors as well.
Yes, might not.
Yeah, great. So then there is a question from Jeffrey. How significant role does ASR, speech to text, play when it comes to low resource languages? Because if ASR fails, NLP fails. And so are there any other ways to tackle this?
Yeah. There is no, I mean, right now we are building for speech to text. That's what I said, right? Like, it's not that like ASR fails, NLP fails. So ASR is only a bit of NLP. Of course, speech recognition is a trending application in NLP. So everybody wants a chatbot. Everybody wants a virtual assistant that understands our speech. But the only thing is that like the speech data has to be more. Again, it depends on the data. So low resource languages, that is the only bottleneck I was talking about, right? Like you have to increase the amount of data, training data. So when you do that, like automatically the ASR gets better.
Okay.
Can I pitch in on that regarding that the speech to text? So you even public can contribute. I'm not sure you heard about Common Voice. It's Mozilla Foundation. It's a data set for all voice data. Okay, so you yourself can, as an individual, if you want, you can contribute your voice to the Common Voice data set, as well as you can also validate already recorded data. Like for example, for Tamil, they have 1,000 hours of data and only 800 hours were validated. Validated means whether the recorded voice and the sentence given are same or not, we need to validate. So we need input. The Common Voice is free platform. So anyone can contribute, anyone can go there and register and help in creating these corpus. Or individual companies also can come up with these kind of data sets so that we can improve our accuracy on the speech to text part. Thank you.
Okay. So this could be there was some, you had highlighted this thing, but have you seen, this is from Deepti Bhatia. Will there be live use cases shared of adoption of NLP in various industries? Basically, have you seen or can you tell about live use cases of adoption of NLP in various industries? So I think you mentioned about e-commerce and then legal. So yeah, is there any further thing you want to add? Or
yeah, not much. Like Selva, you want to add something? Live use cases from industry?
Sorry, live use cases.
Yeah, you mentioned about e-commerce and this thing, maybe.
So yeah, maybe for example, Mattel. I'm not sure you heard about Mattel is a US brand with which they produce the Barbie dolls, Hot Wheels. They recently launched a product for Christmas greetings. Okay, where they whatever text we give, they individual can purchase a voice of a celebrity. Okay, the celebrity will, for example, if you give happy birthday Chotu or any your family member's name, it will come in the celebrity voice. If you can
Oh.
send that gift to your family member, they will hear that gift message in their preferred celebrity voice, not only any celebrity across these things. So it's they had a very best sales on that. This is it's very simple thing, but it's they have a high volume sales on this. Okay, so we have a lot of celebrities, so we can also look at this kind of product. So like this, even a small thing can make a big difference.
Correct. Now, I think during Diwali this year, Shah Rukh Khan's, there was some ad by Cadbury or somebody, and I think they, to drive local businesses, they used some, where he used to talk about that local, this thing, or greet that person and so on. So I think it was similar use case. There is a question from Anuj. So as a language service provider, what is the potential of NLP and how it can be applied to reduce costs and increase output, maintaining the same quality? So like so in translation, we of course, there's a lot of pressure to reduce the delivery time or improve quality, reduce costs and so on. Is there any way where NLP or your APIs or these new ideas can help us from a localization service provider perspective?
Selva, can you answer this question?
Sorry, I was sorry. Can you come again with the question? Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, as an LSP or localization service provider, we do a lot of translation in these kind of jobs. Mm-hmm. Is there any way NLP can be applied to reduce costs or increase output while maintaining the quality?
Yeah, for translation services, right? No, as is note, accuracy translation, it's NLP. If what we can say, even if you automate the translation, there is a manual check needed because the translated text may not be accurate. Okay, this applies to all NLP APIs we are currently having. Okay, so if you want to have enhance the translated text with any classification, or if you want to extract names and names, places from the translated text, we can use NLP APIs. But other than that, I don't see any other application. But automating the NLP APIs, including translation, is not 100% currently because of the accuracy of that kind of translation. Okay, even Google will not give you an accurate translation because the amount of data required for that to get a perfect translation is very much high. The compute power needed to train those models is very much high. So that's why we do it in a piece-bit manner. Okay, so we small data we try to train and increase accuracy, but we are not at the stage where we can automate all the NLP APIs and reduce cost and those kind of things. No, it is not yet. We are not at that stage as of now.
Great. There is a question from Aparna. What is the scope and present status of NLP in Indian regional languages? I'll just add to it. When you're working across Indian languages, is there any particular language where you are find more difficult or more complex, or some language particular more easy? So where are we in terms of like for Indian languages?
Indian languages, almost like if you just try Google, no. So even if you can try Google Translation. So the good news is that it works for almost for all the Indian languages. So at least I can say that this multilingual birth representation, it works for 17 languages. So I'm sure for Hindi, I've seen models for Hindi, Bengali, and Marathi, and down south, Dravidian languages for Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada. So most of the languages, so because where the NLP domain has reached, so that's how we can put this way, like the states which are focusing on NLP. Like for instance, IIT Bombay. So they are the pioneer for NLP. So IIT Kharagpur, and down south we have Anna University working. So wherever NLP research has flourished, so those languages have got higher number of data, and they are working fine. So that's how we can put it. Like Indian languages are doing fine as part of like when we compare with the global languages.
Yeah. There is a question from Lina. How NLP is helping in creating corpus or training machine learning? Is there any way you are using NLP itself to create corpus, or the corpus is getting created manually, and how that entire process works?
Okay, it depends on the task application what we are building. So when we let's say we are building a name entity recognition. So even in your localization industry, so you may have so identifying a person name in a particular language is not very easy, right? Like so, if we wanted to create a corpus for that, then we have to first the data is unstructured first. We have to clean it, and we have to put in a what we do is that like we have automatic tools. So we import that data and using that tool, and people have to find it wherever the names are, then they have to tag it. So it's a painful process, and it's a manual process. So taking the unstructured data, and if you're doing a sentimental classification, then the scenario is different. So then you have to again collect the sentences, and you have to tag them as like if you're interested in classifying them as positive sentence or a negative sentence, then you have to have a data and classify depending upon like how many labels you want to put on it, like positive, negative, or so it depends on the task. That's how we create the data.
Okay. Can it be used for speech to text translation accurately for recordings in regional languages with multiple dialects?
Multiple dialects for a particular language you're talking about, like for a particular language, multiple dialects. That was the question?
Yeah, you can treat that as a meaning. The question is like, can it be used for speech to text translation accurately for recordings in regional languages with multiple languages? We can take perhaps for a particular language.
Yeah. So
then
again,
extrapolate. Yeah.
Yeah. So even one of my PhD students, like she's working actually on dialectal language identification. Again, speech recognition is a classification task. And when you wanted to classify, recognize the multiple dialects present, then it becomes a sub-classification task. So first you should recognize the language, and within that language, you again should have label the data with the multiple dialects. Again, it becomes a multi-classification problem. So again, that's how it has to be done. So it is possible.
Okay. This is a question from Sutin. Again, some questions might be repeated and there could be a overlap. But so are the NLP based APIs integrated, meaning your API is integrated with voice technologies to enable voice based solutions for Indian languages?
Yes, of course. So right now, the speech to text APIs are not released yet. So we are testing it. So soon it will be released. Of course, when we build an API, we see to that like it is covering most of the Indian languages as well. So also with the global languages.
Okay. So there is this, one is the language aspect, and then one is the context, as in, and then there is this particular domain as like it could be insurance, it could be medical. And so when you're creating a voice solution for medical, so all these aspects go in your research when you're building all these models, and is it?
Yes. So we have to, as you rightly put it, we have to take care of the domain, which domain, and when a domain comes, the context differs, because when you talk of like because each and every domain has their own jargons. So when the domain differs, the jargon is going to differ. So all these things has to be taken care, like when we are actually training a particular task. Yes.
Correct. This is a more of a, I think, of a philosophical question. This is again, Jeffrey. There is this encountering problems with consistency and creativity. Where do we see the balance?
Consistency and creativity, as in like what they actually mean, may I know?
No, I'm not again sure, but again, I think many of these, so there is this, sometimes you are looking for quality, but you can fine tune to a certain point. And so where perhaps one finds a balance between like maintaining consistency versus quality or where, and so on.
Okay. I'm not sure of the full question.
Context,
but, yeah.
I think let me put the context. This is Jeffrey.
Sure. Go ahead.
So we have a good set of customers who look for, okay, there is an intent. Let's say there is an intent for a query, and which is movie. Okay, down the line, maybe our training models fail for some reason, and 2% of our training data will get affected, or I mean, the model will get affected. So there, the consistency is lost, but we sort of add more new use cases. So there is, the model got creative, but then at the expense of consistency. You get the question?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, can you? I'll just rephrase what you said, like to ensure that like I got your question right. So you're developing a training set for a particular domain, and it is not working for that particular domain. So augment the data set as per the domain. So the creativity is increased, right? That's what.
Yeah.
So, but again, the consistency. When you talk about like consistency for that particular domain, it's maintained. The creativity is also maintained. The consistency is also maintained. But you want to use that the same data set for the other domain, then there comes the problem. You got the point? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, the problem mainly is we have a different set of use cases. So when we sort of try to address a new use cases, the existing use case will get affected. So that's where.
So yeah, that's actually a bit tough. Actually, we have to strike a balance. So you can't make a generic model. So that will not work. I mean, as far as I've come across, a generic model, when you want to build a generic model, so then you have to definitely strike a balance, and the model will definitely suffer in many places. But if you're building a domain specific model, definitely it's going to work, and your consistency and creativity will definitely be up in all the use cases. I mean, in all the scenarios for that particular use case.
Okay. Just to add upon that, I think that's the reason GPT or any sort of those interfaces, they will have the temperature and the consistency in some sort of parameters, so that we can increase and decrease, and as and when the model will also respond to us.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
There is again a different question. Thanks, Jeffrey. I really appreciate this question from Amit. Is there any with respect to tagging task, is there any, again, a different kind of training or an operating manual or any tools that that you can suggest? Or
yeah, we recently gave some opportunities for college students. So we fine-tuned, we were in the process of fine-tuning our Tamil models. So we gave opportunity to Tamil students, like who can understand. There's no much. So if you know the language for tagging kind of task, if you know the language and if you understand the task, it's well and good. There's no special training required. Of course, we will provide with the manual and all. And what is that tool, Selva, that we use for tagging?
No, there are different tools, okay, paid and unpaid tools available in the market, okay. For example, a free tool is called Inception, okay, that can be used for tagging classification or other NLP tasks, okay. So it's a free tool which we can host in a server, and it has a user management module, etc., required for a large team to maintain a large team. So there is a paid from Space itself. There is a paid tool called Prodigy. Okay, so there are a lot of tools available. If you have internet and you just know how to do this. For example, parts of speech tagging, you just need to know the language properly. It's just like clicking a sentence, selecting a word or a sentence and putting that particular word is a verb or noun. It will be easy for once you do it, once you see how it works, it will be easy. There is no special training needed. It can be self-learned as well. For example, even the Inception tool I told you, it's very easy to use. It's no need for special training as such.
Okay.
You just need a basic computer knowledge, like using mouse to select a text and those kind of things.
Correct. This one question from mine. Currently, so you are still testing. You have started approaching corporates like within India or overseas, and work on these different kind of use cases, or on a trial or a basis, or any kind of prototype basis. You have started already, or you're still in a more kind of a stealth or more kind of a prototyping phase amongst yourselves itself?
Actually, we are our website is live, firstlanguage.in. Silva, you can put the website link in the chat box. Yeah. So we are live, and we are only 1 month old. So though our company got registered in the month to February 2021, so we went live only in December 13. So we have just got our first client. It's
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much. And e-commerce based client. They are using Shopify, and we are building chatbot for them for that purpose. And we are just we are waiting for the next set of customers.
Correct. Great. I think it's we have 3 minutes. I think Sudhin and Asavari are already trying to tell me about that. So we had this 1 hour session. If we don't want to stretch too much, but any few words, Subha, or you or your partner, if you want to say anything specific, we can cover, and then maybe we can try to close it. And yeah.
Thank you so much. All we wanted to say is that, like, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to meet such wonderful people here. So we were happy answering those questions. So if at all you have any query, you can contact us at subalalita@firstlanguage.in, or I'm available on LinkedIn, as you said. Twitter also I'm available. So you can also post your queries. I'm happy to answer.
Great.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Appreciate. So dear participants, today, thanks a lot. We had a different variety, different participants who already are working in NLP. Some were curious, some were like starting afresh in this field. I hope everybody got something out of it. And as Doc mentioned, she's ready to take questions later as well. Feel free to connect to her. As CITLoB, we really want to promote these new startups that are coming up in this field and contributing to the growth of Indian languages in some form. Really happy to again have Doc with you with us today. Thanks all of you again for participating today. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, please.
Thank you very much, Doc. It was wonderful. And Mr. Selva also, it was really nice for you to add in. And both of you have made a very technical subject very easy to understand, I must say. Like, it was wonderful. Though, people like to, think that it is too technical and maybe beyond a layman's understanding. But you both made it very easy to understand, and thank you for that. Wonderful. Yeah,
there were many questions. Some of them overlap, and maybe I also didn't understand the context just reading at it. But feel free to reach out to Doc again.
Sure.
And thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Bye bye.